IRONMAN 70.3 Western Australia, just a low-level race in a small town on the west coast of Australia, right? Wrong. This race has the potential to change the landscape of the IRONMAN Pro Series, and it's the last chance for pros to earn points before they head to the last race of the series, 70.3 World Championships in Taupo. On the women's side, there are several athletes who are looking to set themselves up for that final race in Taupo, and they're battling to make it into the top 5 of the series and maybe even onto the overall podium. Remember, there is a huge prize purse on offer, and making it onto the podium can earn you upwards of $85,000. On the men's side, there are 2 athletes that could take the lead in the overall series and set themselves up to earn that $200,000 prize purse at the end of the season. This race is going to play a huge role in the final series standings, and in this video I'm going to break down each of the athletes that are currently ranked in the top 10 of the standings who are racing on Saturday, what their position is and what they need to get from this race. Let's get stuck in. Starting with the women, and here are the top 10 standings as they sit currently. We've got 5 of the top 10 racing, and we'll start with Els Visser, who's currently in 10th in the series. It looked like she might be able to put some pressure on the overall series podium, but that DNF at the World Championships in Nice put an end to it. Without 3 full Ironman scores, it's very difficult to contend at the top of the series, but with 2 Ironmans and 3 70.3s, she could still comfortably make the top 10 at the end of the year. A good result in Busselton could see her overtake Fenella Langridge, who's ended her season early, Alice Alberts, who's not racing here but is racing in Taupo, then maybe even Daniela Blamau if she can beat her by the 412 points that they're separated by, which equates to nearly 7 minutes, which is a big chunk of time, so that may not be possible, but Visser will have another chance in Taupo if she's fit enough, because she has been dealing with those injuries since Nice. As I've just touched on her, we'll talk about Daniela Blamau next. Like I said, she isn't qualified for Taupo, so this is her last chance to earn points in the series. And the only athlete ahead of her that she could probably catch is Alice Alberts, and then she'll have to hope Alberts doesn't catch back in Taupo. She'll want to hold off Els Visser, who will be coming from behind, because still finishing in that 7 to 10 range of the Pro Series can earn you in between $10,000 and $30,000 at the end of the year. Lottie Wilms and Hannah Berry are in a similar position. They both only scored points over 3 Ironman full distance races, so they've still got lots of potential to move up in the standings, adding on those 2 extra 70.3s. For Lottie Wilms, she's 4,005 points from leader Jackie Herring, which may be slightly out of reach. Remember, there are 2,500 points on offer this weekend at a regular 70.3 in the Pro Series, and then at the 70.3 World Championships in Taupo, it goes up to 3,000 points. But with the likes of Taylor Knibb, Julie Deron and Ashley Gentle all slated to race there, the extra points on offer may not actually benefit the athletes because the time deficit they lose will likely blow out. If Wilms has a good race here in Busselton, she could set herself up to fight for that 2nd overall, given Kat Matthews is the firm favourite to win the overall series. However, she's definitely in the fight for the podium. Looking at the table, you can see Wilms is only 2,305 points behind Maja Stage Nielsen. And with 2 races in hand, she can definitely catch the Dane with 2 solid performances, as well as overtaking Danielle Lewis, who sits in 4th just behind Nielsen. Berry is a bit further back from Wilms, sitting 2,919 points behind Nielsen. However, with those 2 races in hand, it's definitely possible to move up and overtake her. Although Nielsen, Lewis and Alberts will all be looking to improve on their worst score in Taupo, for Berry and Wilms, it all starts with a big performance here in Busselton to set themselves up well for Taupo to overtake some of these athletes that are ahead of them. The last athlete to talk about for the women is Maja Stage Nielsen. Currently sitting 3rd overall in the series, her points total is based on a full selection of scores, 3 Ironmans and 2 70.3s. So what that means, unlike Lottie Wilms and Hannah Berry, who will get the full benefit of the score from this weekend added to their total overall score, for Maja Stage Nielsen, she'll only get additional points if she outperforms the races she's already done. So looking at her worst result, you can see it's 1,647 points, which came from 70.3 Tallinn. This equates to finishing 14 minutes and 13 seconds back from the leader, which you would expect her to do, but she may only gain an extra 400 to 500 points unless she has a really good day out. And remember, she'll have another opportunity to improve on this score in Taupo, but like I've said, the caliber of athletes there is going to be a lot higher, so this might be the best opportunity to get as many points as possible. So far I've only talked about the athletes battling it out in the Pro Series, but it's worth mentioning a few names who will be contenders in this race on Saturday, which could take points away from the people in the Pro Series. We've got Grace Tech, who's a big threat to take the win, as well as Anna Bergston, who just came second behind Ellie Salthouse at 70.3 Melbourne. We've got Penny Slater and Marta Sanchez, who are both coming off top 10 finishes at the Ironman World Championships in Nice. And I'm also interested to see Rochelle Hill, who's just coming off second at the Noosa Triathlon behind Ashley Gentle. So the athletes in the Pro Series won't have it all their own way. Some of these athletes I just mentioned could take points away from them and shake things up. Now for the men, and we've got 4 athletes currently in the top 10 of the series standings, and we'll look at them in pairs because they're in quite similar positions. First, we've got Robert Callan and Paul Schuster, who are currently 8th and 9th in the series. Both these athletes didn't qualify for 70.3 World Championships, so this race will be their last opportunity to earn points in the series. You can see in the table they both have a full selection of scores and are less than 100 points apart, so this race will likely decide who finishes ahead of the other. Callan's worst score is 1,288 from 70.3 Zalamsi, so there's significant room for him to improve on this, with the top score being 2,500. While Schuster's worst score is 2,157, so he'd only improve if he finishes within 5 minutes and 43 seconds of the leader. Definitely possible, but the gains are going to be marginal there. So if Callan has a good race, expect him to move away from Paul Schuster in the standings, but with many of the athletes ahead of him racing Taupo, his position may not change significantly. He'll overtake Jonas Hoffman, who's ahead of him, and then his priority will be building a buffer from anyone who's coming from behind. Now the other 2 athletes to talk about in this table are Gregory Barnaby and Christian Hogenhaug. Both are coming off top 10 finishes at the Ironman World Championships in Kona, and this has moved them up the rankings and put them in contention for the overall series. Now they'll be racing both Busselton and Taupo, and there's an interesting dynamic here because that's different to what Matthew Marquardt has chosen to do. You can see they sit 4th, 5th and 6th in the series and all currently have 4 races counting towards their score, meaning the next race they do will be added fully to their total overall score. Barnaby and Hogenhaug have chosen to race Busselton and Taupo, while Matthew Marquardt is just focusing on Taupo. Now there are pros and cons to both. Just racing Taupo means you get those extra 2 weeks of recovery, so it depends how you pulled up from that big effort in Kona. However, I like what Barnaby and Hogenhaug are doing. The field isn't particularly strong in Busselton, so they should be able to score decent points, which gives them some security and takes the pressure off heading into 70.3 Worlds. While it's slightly boom or bust for Marquardt, he needs to get a really good performance at 70.3 Worlds to be in with a shot of winning the overall series. Coming back to the standings, and for both Barnaby and Hogenhaug, they have a decent shot at taking the lead in the series. Barnaby is 2,064 points behind Patrick Lange, and with Lange taking the decision to not race here and end his season after Kona, it means if Barnaby finishes within 7 minutes and 16 seconds of the winner in Busselton, then he'll take the lead in the series. Something you definitely expect him to do the way he's raced over the middle distance this year. I understand why Lange has decided not to chase the points in the series, but it's definitely disappointing. It would have been a lot more exciting to see him race here, earn 300 or 400 extra points and delay somebody else taking the lead in the series to 70.3 World Championships in Taupo, the last race of the season. I'm not sure if he would have been able to gain enough in this race in Busselton to win the overall series, and maybe that's what he thought too, so that's why he decided against it. But I would have liked to see him going after it and fighting for the overall series. Now coming back to Hogenhaug, he's slightly further back and has a 2,332 point gap to Patrick Lange, meaning he'd need to finish within 2 minutes and 48 seconds of the winner in Busselton. That may be asking a bit too much, but it is possible. Remember, if they don't take the lead in Busselton, they'll get another chance in Taupo to earn extra points. But with the likes of Hayden Wild, Leo Berger, Carl Smith all on the start line, the deficit to the winner could be bigger than usual. So even the additional points you get in that World Championship race, they may not be able to improve on their worst score. Like with the women, it's worth mentioning some of the other names who are racing in Busselton because they could shake up the race and take points away from the people in the hunt for the Pro Series. We've got Mark Dubrick, Sam Osborne and Jared Osborne all have raced well over the middle distance recently. Then we've got a few short course athletes to keep an eye on, Jamie Riddle, Kenji Nina and Jake Birtwistle. I'm really interested to see how Kenji Nina performs over the middle distance. And then we've got a few more long course names like Anthony Costas, Mike Phillips, Matt Burton, Arnaud Guillot, who will all be looking to score more points in the series, but they're further down than a lot of the names I've already mentioned. So lots to keep an eye on during the race. Can Lottie Wilms or Hannah Berry set themselves up to challenge for the overall series podium in 2 weeks' time in Taupo? And will there be a new man leading the IRONMAN Pro Series? Will Barnaby and Hogan have a good race and set themselves up to win that $200,000 prize purse? Make sure you tune in to catch all the action. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe down below to catch the final few videos I'll be putting out this year. See you in the next one.